Alright, listen up, because I'm only gonna tell this story once. And when I'm done, you'll understand why I had to come back here, to this God-forsaken place, to face the demons of my past. You see, I was once a cybersecurity analyst, working for a company that thought it knew everything about protecting data. But when a breach hit, and I was the one holding the bag, they turned on me like a pack of hyenas. They scapegoated me, fired me, and left me to rot in the public eye. But I didn't rot. No, I did something else. I rose from the ashes, and I came back to show them all what I'm made of. The day I was fired, I walked out of that office with nothing but the clothes on my back and a heart full of rage. My family, they didn't make it any easier. They laughed in my face, told me I was an embarrassment, a failure. My dream of oceanic data privacy, of encrypted underwater communication, they called it ridiculous, pointless. They said I was chasing ghosts, that I'd never amount to anything. But I knew better. I knew that the ocean held the key to a future they couldn't even imagine. So I left. I walked away from this place, from the mockery and the derision, and I started my journey. It wasn't easy. There were times when I doubted myself, when I wondered if they were right, if I was just chasing a fool's dream. But then, I'd remember the look in their eyes, the sneer on their lips, and I'd find the strength to keep going. I started small, working out of a cramped apartment, poring over data and algorithms, trying to crack the code of underwater communication. People laughed at me, said I was crazy, that it was impossible. But I didn't listen. I couldn't, because I knew that if I stopped, if I gave up, I'd be proving them right. And I couldn't let that happen. Years passed, and slowly but surely, I started to make progress. I developed algorithms that could encrypt data underwater, that could communicate with sensors in the deepest trenches of the ocean. I revolutionized environmental monitoring, made maritime security tighter than a drum. And all the while, I never forgot where I came from, never forgot the people who doubted me, who laughed at me. And then, one day I got the call, a call that would change everything. A call that would bring me back here, to this place. To face the demons of my past. I was invited to speak at a conference that would be attended by the who's who of the tech world. And I knew, in that moment, that it was time to come home. The day of the conference, I stood in front of a room full of people who had once laughed at me, who had once called me a fool. And I told them my story. I told them about the breach, about the scapegoating, about the years of struggle and doubt. And then I showed them what I had achieved. I showed them the algorithms, the encrypted communication, the revolutionized monitoring systems. And I watched as their jaws dropped, as their eyes widened in disbelief. But the real show was yet to come. You see, I had one more trick up my sleeve. I had invited my family to the conference, had told them that I had something to show them, something that would change their minds about me, about my dream. And they came, reluctantly, but they came. As I stood on that stage, looking out at the sea of faces, I saw them, sitting in the front row, their eyes filled with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. And I knew, in that moment, that it was time to deliver the final blow. I want to show you something, I said, my voice echoing through the room. I want to show you the power of belief, the power of perseverance. I want to show you what happens when you don't give up, when you don't let the doubters and the naysayers bring you down. And with that, I hit a button on my laptop, and the screen behind me came to life. It showed a map of the ocean, a map that was filled with dots, each dot representing a sensor that was communicating with my system, a system that was protecting the ocean, protecting the environment, protecting the world. And then I showed them the data. I showed them the encrypted messages, the secure communications, the revolutionized monitoring systems. And I watched as their eyes widened, as their mouths dropped open, as they finally understood the magnitude of what I had achieved. But the real kicker came when I showed them the financials. I showed them the money, the investments, the partnerships. I showed them the empire that I had built, the empire that had started with nothing but a dream and a heart full of rage. And as I stood there, looking out at the sea of faces, I saw the realization dawn on them. I saw the understanding, the regret, the shame, and I knew in that moment that I had won. I had proven them wrong, had shown them the power of belief, the power of perseverance. I had shown them that I was more than just a failure, more than just an embarrassment. I was a pioneer, a revolutionary, a visionary. And as I walked off that stage, I left them there, left them to grapple with the consequences of their past derision, left them to face the demons of their own making. And I knew in that moment that I had finally come full circle. I had faced my past, had conquered my demons, had proven my worth, and I was ready to face the future, ready to take on whatever challenges came my way. Because that's who I am. I'm not just a cybersecurity analyst, not just a data encryption specialist. I'm a fighter, a survivor, a dreamer. And I'll never, ever let anyone tell me that my dreams are ridiculous, that my pursuits are pointless. Because I know deep down in my heart that I am destined for greatness, and I'll stop at nothing to achieve it. So if you're out there, if you're listening to this story and you're feeling doubt, feeling fear, feeling like you can't achieve your dreams, let me tell you something. You can. You will. Because all it takes is belief. All it takes is perseverance. All it takes is the courage to stand up, to fight back, to prove the doubters wrong. And remember, every setback is a setup for a comeback. Every failure is a stepping stone to success. Every demon is a chance to prove your worth. So stand up, fight back, and never, ever give up on your dreams. Because they are worth fighting for. Because you are worth fighting for. And that, my friends, is the story of how I turned my pain into power, my doubt into determination, and my ridicule into revolution. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Because at the end of the day, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And my journey has been one hell of a ride, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.